This is a video I've been really excited to make. Double Masters 2022 is now officially here, and even after its launch, I think it's still one of the greatest sets in recent memory. But despite all that, there's a huge lesson to be learned for all of us from the launch of this product. So in an attempt to always improve ourselves, give me the next 10 minutes of your time, and I'll attempt to either drastically change or totally validate how you buy Magic products going forward. There's something in this video for everyone, so let's get right to it. Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is a quick video, but it is packed, so without delay, let's talk about the cards and the boxes, both during and after launch day, and then we'll talk about what the big takeaway from this experience is and how it can help us going forward. But first, if you like videos like this and you'd like to follow along, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment. It really does go a long way. Before we get too far, recall that Double Masters 2022 is a product I called almost perfect recently, and if you haven't seen that video, check it out. The only knock against the product for me was its availability and the sky-high pre-order prices. My advice for those who hadn't pre-ordered at the time was to either wait or buy a single box and to not buy into the fear of never being able to own this product. So that's absolutely, to me, the way to navigate this right now still. If you pre-ordered, especially at like true pre-order prices, then excellent. If you didn't, then taking it slow is the best approach here. There's a fair amount of product available, and you do not have to go all in immediately if you don't want to or can't, especially at the current price of just over $300 a box. So like I said, don't swallow the whole apple, just take a bite. Up until recently, most of us were pre-ordering at around $255 for draft and $230 for collector, and then once previews really got underway, those prices shot up to around $380 at a high for draft and $290 at a high for collector. I think that we all undoubtedly approached this process a little differently. You may have decided to sit out anyway for a number of reasons. You know, maybe this product just was not appealing to you in the first place. I think that is perfectly fine. You may have bought high, you may have pre-ordered at these nice lows, anything in between. Regardless, like I said in the opening, I believe that simply owning this set is what's important if you're someone who holds on to sealed product. So here's the big issue we're going to unpack a bit here. If you didn't pre-order, there was a tremendous amount of pressure to buy this product immediately, or else you'd miss the opportunity. Pressure and investing never mix, ever. In fact, to me, it's always the opposite. You have got to be able to deploy your dollars on a schedule that works for you, or else you'll create, hardship, imbalance in your own life. I don't remember a more pressured environment than the one we just experienced with Double Masters 2022. So I wanted to make this video as something we can revisit next time this inevitably happens, because it certainly will. And you can see why we're talking about this now, because today, draft boxes are now in the around $330 to $340 range, and at best collectors are $250. So with inventory readily available and prices down from their highs during pre-order, was the pressure necessary? More importantly, did acting on that pressure disrupt the general plans any of us were trying to follow day to day? This is critical. So let's look at card and box prices to see how some of the dust has settled here. It pains me to gloss over so many awesome cards, but for now, I just want to look at the top 5 most expensive cards to see the trend. I'll talk about singles more in the near future. But to get started, interestingly enough, the total set value has gone from a peak of $2,100 to around $1,350. That is a massive 35% or so drop in overall value. Regardless of whether you're new to sets like this or not, this happens every time. It's not an indicator of anything major. It's just what happens. You can see that trend continuing though. So Imperial Seal, for instance, a peak of $450 during pre-order and now a low of around $130. That is still an impressive price for a mythic, but way down. Renin 6, awesome card, high of $90 during pre-order and a low of around $58. Cavern of Souls is no different, $80 during pre-order and now $55 or so. Mana Vault, a favorite card of mine. Brief window, folks were paying around $90, but currently around $51. Lastly, the fan favorite Dockside Extortion has peaked at around $75 and is now around $48, which is a huge discount for a card like this if it's one you wanted to pick up. Kind of the point of reprint sets. There you go. Just to visualize, I love a visual. Here's a graph showing these very sharp drops for all these cards, but as we know, this is always to be expected. Textured foils are an important thing to mention though here. Pre-order prices for texture foils have fallen off a cliff. This is again to be expected. Some people do want to guarantee that they can own these collectibles and get them immediately. They just want them. They see the long-term value. But if you look at the 5 textured foils that were sold, Liliana from $800 to $469, Renin 6 from $700 to $351, Ulamog from $700 to $388, Emrakul from $600 to $341, and then Kozilek from $800 to $210, my favorite by far. These prices are making it more enticing to actually start buying these rare inserts, but these are the perfect approach to chase cards in my opinion because of their obvious highly played card selection. As a card choice, Hidetsugu in Neon Dynasty was confusing. These are obviously anything but. Like I say, this happens all the time. Even, for example, the very first Phyrexian text card that was included in an on-the-shelf product, Vorinclex from Kaldheim, it was pre-ordering non-foil for around $160 and then slid down to around $55 right after launch. It's somewhere in the 30s right now. But even in this set, Double Masters, the foil borderless Smothering Tithe. Ugh, what an the Pete Ventris art on this. I'm going to frame this one too, probably. I'm going to need a lot of frames. This was pre-ordering for between $110 and $115 on sites like eBay and has since slid to around $50 based on actual recent sales. So pretty big drop off. Singles of essentially any card will always be available, I believe. You know, the market will dictate their prices. If we can buy cards from Alpha now, then you better believe we'll be able to buy cards from this set indefinitely, textured foils included. So card prices have dipped, obviously. That's what we'd expect. But then with that also goes the box EV. We've got to look at box EV a little more in the future to talk about value. Maybe that starts to inform the price a little bit more. We're going to have to see. Let's talk box prices though. Prices before previews, like we said, $255 for draft, $230 for collector. I'm talking USD. Prices during previews at the high, $380 for draft, $280, $290 for collector. Now, $330-ish for draft, $250 for collector. What's important to know here though is this. If you were buying at the highs, right, hey, I missed out on pre-orders, I've got to go to the open market price, draft experienced around a 16% drop from the high to where it is now. So while that's not a massive, massive swing, remember that kind of universally accepted 8% return a year is something that I'm at least trying to model my Magic investing after. And to lose 16%, I don't know, roughly 2 years or so of return in one transaction is a little rough. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, but hey, you could have been slightly more efficient if you had waited just a moment and not kind of gone all in at the 380. If you only bought a box or two, that's perfectly fine, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either way. It's just there was an opportunity to maybe be a little more efficient if we avoided some of the pressure. Most boxes drop from their pre-order prices. Yes, this happens all the time, but we often wait for this to occur before buying. At least that's what I advocate for, but in this case, I'm willing to bet that a lot of us were buying before we wanted to because we thought it was now or never. So how will this product age, and what happens if you did pay upwards of $380 per draft box? Obviously, this set is one of those rare limited edition premium products that do live up to their price tag in my opinion, and we've seen proof of that with this set for sure. We've all seen box openings and we have followed the sort of value proposition based on that. And while some boxes that I have seen online can be a little bit rough, that's understandable, by and large the set's a slam dunk if you're planning on holding any of it. And in that regard, to me, it doesn't matter what you paid at this point. You would love to be able to pay this current price for the original Double Masters, and that set came out less than 2 years ago. So we'd be missing out if we didn't recap some of the price behavior. Let's look at why prices moved down. Simply put, prices always do. This time did feel a little bit different, and I want to cover that. Many factors, in my opinion, kind of contributed to the price spike. There's this obvious sense of FOMO that we were all kind of absorbing. Chase card rumors and special inserts, like signed this and that might be in these boxes. That didn't end up being true. Allocation was cut. This is absolutely true. We were perhaps led to believe that stores would cancel orders, but I put a poll out, and I really appreciate everybody responding to this so quickly. I got hundreds of replies to this. Hardly anyone had orders canceled, and the only times that they actually did was when stores legitimately said, I'm not getting as much as I was told. I can only honor a certain number of pre-order sales. Maybe if you If they're getting half what they said, they were halving everybody's pre-order, but still honoring the price. So this narrative that stores are going to cut and run and shoot their business into the ground over one product where they can recoup some money, I think is really overblown. And I'd be really hesitant to listen to that type of narrative going forward. It's not one that I've ever experienced, and I know I'm spending a minute of time on it here, but maybe a bit of a PSA. The community is far more honest than we'd sometimes be led to believe. Keep that in mind. Glass half full, folks. But the most important factor around the sliding box price is this. Concretely speaking, the asking price was elevated because folks were willing to pay it. Stores were overwhelmingly committed to honoring their sales, their pre-order sales, like we just talked about. So only the products that were left on the open market were the ones specifically from online sellers, let's say, who likely knew that this was a good product. It would sell regardless. Let's see what I can get now. And some folks, hey, they said, I'm either going to get it or I'm not. So let's go for this. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with selling it at that price. But the buyer of that box at that sky high price does not need to be you. It does not need to be you. You can have some patience, a little bit of foresight, and say, look, I know this happens all the time. I'm going to pause. There's a lot of pandemonium right now. Let the dust settle. Let me see where this thing ends up. And if I'm happy there, I'll go for it. I say again, owning this product is what matters. But let's remember that next time when we're pre-ordering a limited print run product, it's not a bad idea to perhaps go in on the pre-order price if you believe that Wizards is going to keep creating good products. And I believe they will. So pre-ordering this time around proved to be the right move. But I'm still okay if you ended up paying full retail, because in the future, that's still going to end up being a great price. I say again, owning this product is what matters. But let's remember next time that pre-ordering these limited print run products is not a bad idea if you know you want to buy and hold the limited print run offerings from Wizards. They do come through. It's very rare to me that something like this ends up being a dud. And I think long term, nothing's a dud based on the launch price. That's why the 5% of my portfolio dedicated to alternatives is magic, because I just fundamentally believe in the value proposition of buying sealed product and holding it over time. So let this experience inform how we approach pre-orders. And if you miss the boat on a pre-order, do not feel pressured into stocking up on something immediately that will likely be around for a while at a price you'd like to pay. Pace yourself, just take a bite of the apple. In closing, yes, this set is amazing. I'm glad to own it, and I hope that you are too if it appeals to you. I said that Double Masters was almost perfect in my opinion in my last video. Has that changed? Not entirely, but I am willing to say that Double Masters is nearly perfect now that boxes are readily available and the asking prices have cooled off a little bit. Buying only what you love is a surefire way to avoid feelings of anxiety when it comes to investing, and Magic is no different. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your response to the polls. I've got some more coming. There's a lot in the pipeline, so there's a lot for me to get to. And I'm really excited to share it all with you guys. What do you think? How was this product fared for you? Are you excited? Did you sit this one out? Are you still sitting it out? Anything and everything in between. I absolutely love talking with you all, so thanks so much for commenting. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, subscribing. I do appreciate your chats below. There's a ton more to cover. I'm really excited, so until we talk again, take care.